To the jail warrant after party, and quick reminder, everybody, if you like the intro tunes to the both the shows, there are links for them right down there in my SoundCloud, because that's my band and me singing there. Just if you didn't know that, and also we also have a link for all of Mikey's tunes down there in the SoundCloud link below in the description box as well. And if you missed the interview with JL, there's a link to that as well in the description box, which will take you over to where you can find all of JL's links as well. So. Definitely do that, because he puts out some great product with the horror stuff and with the with his regular channel where he debunks like woo shit and argues with theists and stuff like that. So definitely go and check that out. It's a good time had by all. Anyways, so far with us we got of course my brother from another mother, the co-host and producer for the show, Mr. Mikey Famine, is with us. The guest of honor tonight, Mr. J.L. Warren, who's done fucking voice work on One Piece, one of my favorite animes, for crying out loud. Holy shit, man. Like, I was like, my jaw was on the floor. It still is. I'll pick it up at some point. And, of course, my very good friend, Mr. Michael Earhart, is with us. The one, the only, always in green, Fern, is with us as well. My brother from the other coast, Mr. Canadian Ollyman, is with us. The superhero extraordinaire, Mr. Irish Sweet, is with us, and the one and only Amber, who is also jumps in with me on occasion on Aaron's crap and stuff like that. So yeah, we're all here, and I think joining us now. Holy crap!
Are you sure joining us now?
It's Zach. Holy cow! What's going on,
Zach? What up, dude?
Look at that hair, man! Holy shit! You're catching up to me.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, no, I just thought I'd hop in for a few minutes. I'm out smoking and walking, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
Good to see ya. Good to hear ya.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. So you can barely see you're like one of those background people in a horror movie or something right now.
Dun dun.
Okay,
dun,
I didn't catch a word of what the fuck you just said.
Okay, it was silly anyways.
It was a bad joke.
Yeah.
Something
it's
like okay. That. He's trying.
You're just a floating head in the darkness, dude. That's what they said.
Yeah, you look like you should be singing the operatic in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right, yeah. You sound like a robot right now. Hang on.
Mamma mia.
Here, I'm gonna pop.
Mamma mia, Figaro.
Come back.
You let go. Pesky robots.
It's gonna pop, lock, and drop it.
Well. He's working on that. JL, I wanted to say this last video did about the prayer stuff. That's been making waves. It's been coming up in like a whole bunch of live streams. You know, I've been driving for like the last 6 freaking days straight, so I've been watching a lot of listening to a lot of live streams. And it's coming up a lot. I'm like,
really?
I know, yeah. Like I mean, you get attention from time to time, like the Greg Locke thing that made some waves too. But like, I'm just there's a fellow named Brentley, Punk Apostate. He does a morning live stream every other day, and people were talking about it in his chat, and they're like, what? So, I mean, first of all, cool, good job. That's
awesome.
That's viral stuff.
I was like, I've been looking at my analytics. I was like, oh, it's not doing so well. Okay, well, I mean, I took a swing at Alan Richardson, so I guess whatever. But wow, it's like that blows my mind that people are talking about. That's like, oh, damn.
Yeah, it's like a word. Well, I guess it would be like word of mouth viral if people aren't actually watching. Alas, but like what
word of eye?
Why did you go in that particular direction? Like, because it was brilliant to go after the selective prayer thing, you know, because nobody ever talks about it. We all think it, but it doesn't get articulated, you know. So like, was it just like something about it was like No, this pisses me off. I need to stomp on this.
So, yeah,
Can I be the guy who asked what the video was about for those of us who haven't watched it yet? But we're gonna watch it later.
Tell me the video.
So I did a video. It's my most recent one on my channel where where essentially an atheist was responding to a Christian celebrity's response to an atheist response to a Christian's claim about prayer. So that's essentially what my video was. And
wait, what?
Yeah, don't just walk away from that like that was
so basically, I was responding. Get back here. I was responding to Reacher star Alan Ritchson. He
Okay.
the video in response to a TikToker who goes by Jarma Lee. She's an alternative model in Alabama. She was responding to a Christian TikToker and YouTube star named Ashley Hetherington, who she's got like a Christian centric self-help, like believe in God and do exercise, you lose weight, shit like that. And so what got me to it is I watched Jarma's. I saw Jarma's video first. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then she caught me with that accent, with that Alabama accent. And I was like, this chick is awesome. I love this so much. And she was just, the way she approached it, I was like, holy crap. Even though it's done in a funny way, she's making some extremely salient points about the logical of evil. And she doesn't go into the philosophy of it, but there's some deep stuff there. That's really important. I was like, that's interesting. And then because I guess that was on my computer in my browser, then all of a sudden I found out that Alan Ritchson himself responded to that. It was the next thing that popped up in my feed was Alan Ritchson responded to her video. And I was like, Reacher? Like, what the hell? And then I pulled up the video and I found it was like literally, and this is what I knew. Really, it wasn't so much Alan Reacher, or I would say it wasn't so much Alan Ritchson. It was the fact that it was put out by the Blaze. And I have a real problem with Blaze Media. I like big time. If you watch my breakdown on the film Nefarious, you'll understand why. But I saw the Blaze put it out. I was like, oh crap. Alan Ritchson is doing work through the Blaze. This has got my attention. And then the headline on that was like, Alan Ritchson smacks down clueless Satanist and explains the gospel. So I was like, really? Because Jarma is not a Satanist. At least I've never heard her express that she is one. I know she's an atheist, but I've never heard her be like, oh, I'm a Satanist. She just has a lot of tattoos. That's all it is.
Don't they just always call us... Don't Christians love to call us Satanists, though? They always do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that the church, like the Satanic Temple, that is atheist. Like the only satanic churches out there are actually atheistic. So it doesn't help us.
I watched Alan's video. I was like, okay, let me see what like Jack Reacher himself has to say about this. I guess, and I'm thinking Alan Ritchson. I'm thinking Alan Ritchson is not like like I didn't assume that he was terribly versed in like philosophy or theology. This could be a very, very surface thing. But then he goes, and I was listening to what he said, and the longer he went on, the worse it got. Because I honestly don't think he really thought about what he was saying before he said it. Because some of the stuff he said in there made Ashley's claim, like the logical entailments of that, made it even worse. And then like he starts like I think when he was kind of stream of consciousness, and he's like, oh, this is what feels right. I'm going to say this. It was like, wrong way to go, pal. And,
try to freestyle,
right? And so I was like, oh, I've got to respond to this, and it was a combination. She's like, Reacher season 2 is coming out December 15th, and Alan Ritchson, he's going up in analytics. Is like, oh, I tacked on 30 pounds of muscle for Reacher season 2, and I'm like, yeah, he's popular right now, but this is like Alan Ritchson's got a pretty sizable platform. He's globally recognized. Mm-hmm. What he's saying here philosophically is really, really bad. And so that's what kind of inspired me. It's like I have to break this down and respond exactly why it's bad and why it was just terrible. So
a Christian made a thing that an atheist replied to. So the actor replied to the atheist that was reacting to the Christian, and now you're reacting to all of that.
Yes, I make a big point of that in the video.
I got it right. Too. Okay,
but it is actually worth it though, because the first video in the line is just like this bubblehead silver spoon middle of the road influencer who's like, I have what I have because God is so great and loves me so much. And so the middle person, the TikToker, the alt model, she's like, bitch, if your God is real, he's pretty fucking evil because he's making you rich and letting the children in Africa starve to death.
Yeah.
And worse.
Right. God's looking out for you, but like, ooh, this kid over here that's got the infectious disease that we could cure, but we won't because it costs too much money. Fuck that kid. As long as you have your nice shoes.
And it escalates at every level too, right? Like the first video, it's just your standard bubblehead Jesus is so wonderful thing. Yeah. And it does escalate fast when it moves to that TikToker person. But then
be ridiculous.
Then Reacher comes in and then Reacher he just kind of bubbleheads over it. He tries to just like smother it in fame and make it go away. I don't know.
It was wild because it was wild because before I was this is what I found this really. I didn't make a point of it in the script, but a little bit of behind the scenes thing. The original video that Alan Ritchson released, I actually couldn't access that. I watched it and I was like, and the reason the one that I actually managed to capture, because it's not on YouTube and it's not on TikTok. It was released directly via Blaze Media's Facebook page. And trying to pull,
so it's like straight to VHS kind of
right.
thing,
right? So trying to pull media from Facebook is an absolute pain in the ass. So the problem was the one that I was able to capture. There was actually two different videos because in the original video, Alan actually there's a moment in there where Alan actually states. Like he points out the problems that atheists will point out in their logical critiques of these claims and everything. He'll be like, well, then we'll say this, and then the atheist responds with this. It's like, so we just can't win in the atheist's eyes. You know, that's just how they do. It's like,
yeah,
it was like poison the well much. That's what got me. It was like, so not only are you misrepresenting atheism, you're poisoning the goddamn well for the audience, and you're running your mouth. I mean, essentially
with strawmen.
You quintuple down on what Ashley said. You never give a justification. And I was like, what? And I was like, this is so bonkers. I have to respond, just like,
wow.
Because he apparently, he's not like his character. Reacher plans shit out and, is tactical. He just got on the mic and he just got in front of the camera. Was like, I'm going to talk about God today. And fucked it up.
I mean, what is wrong with our country? Like, this is an America problem, I think, where like, cishet white male actors are so important to our national dialogue all the fucking time.
Wait till you get a load of like somebody like Steve Dace on the Blaze, and you'll. I've been a thorn in his side for better part of 10 years.
I mean, like the thing I keep thinking of is like I stumble into little sidelines and video clips that include Joe Rogan quite a bit, and some part of me every time I see him, I'm like, isn't that the motherfucker from like the radio show?
Bugs.
Like he's just a dude that was an actor. Who gives a fuck?
Freaking Spit City.
I don't understand either.
Comedian, host of what?
Was he a comedian? I thought he was an MMA fighter.
I thought he had to be.
No, he was
funny.
He was never really a fighter.
He was a
I thought he had to be funny.
He was a stand-up comic. He was a stand-up comic. He had some background in fighting. Realized it wasn't going to be his future. He really explored his stand-up comedy. Then he started doing. Then he got into acting. He was on Spin City. Then he hosted Fear Factor for a while. Developed his personality there. Showed up in some movies, and then developed the Joe Rogan Experience.
Just what a fucking useless cunt he's always been, and yet. And yet, the man, why does anybody listen? He keeps showing up and stuff. Like, I keep seeing people commenting on him. I'm like, why?
Well, he's got that critical mass of fame where people will listen to him just because he's famous. But also, people with actual credibility give him the time of day. Like Alex O'Connor talks to him, Neil deGrasse Tyson talks to him. I'm like, why are you doing this, people? I don't. Maybe it's funny.
I actually
because he's got such a big following.
Yeah,
I actually got to dig, especially in his early stuff, because one thing I enjoyed about Joe, the early stuff, like it's mutated into something else nowadays ever since the Spotify thing and all that, but. Early on,
125 million smackers.
Right, I really dug what he started off, because as a host, it can sometimes be really, really hard not to insert oneself like too much into the conversation. And Joe was always really good. He was really fantastic at sitting back and letting the person talk and letting them, like really, do their points. And he'd be like, oh, what about this? And then let them go. He was brilliant at letting someone get the whole story out or giving them enough rope to hang themselves. And
I think that's easier when you don't have a personality.
And you're high as shit. And you just licked the toad 10 minutes ago, so you don't
There's
know.
That. Okay, you're high and you're an idiot.
Fern's over here like Patch O'Houlihan. You're about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop.
Most of us initially got to listen to Joe Rogan, and I say this initially because he would ask questions like, there are a ton of subjects I know nothing about, and he would ask the question that I would want to ask.
Okay, that's a fair point. I just liked him on news radio, and I don't give a shit about the rest of his life. I mean, that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased. I'm sorry.
It's an interesting perspective. A lot of UFC. He's actually really good on there. Gotta be said.
Yes, Neil. Neil, would you like to speak on your own show?
Hi, McKinnon.
Hi, guy that runs the place.
Hi, McKinnon. I don't know if you can hear me.
Neil, you're muted, Neil.
I can hear.
It's been a hot minute, my friend.
Yeah, it has. Neil has been trying to say something for like the last 5 minutes at his hand raised.
I'm going to shut up now.
Unmute your mic,
Neil. Neil, you're muted again.
Christ. You're like Nick.
This might be why we can't hear you, is you're not audible.
Yep, still muted.
Yeah.
Still muted. Neil, fix your mic, brother.
No wonder you felt the need to raise your hand.
Fix your mic, brother.
God damn it.
That's what we're trying.
There you go.
I had my hand up the whole time and I was muted anyways. And
Which
one?
I
was waving because I wanted to introduce McKinnon because he showed up.
Oh, right? Well then go back to mute.
We still can't hear you.
You gotta bust out the tarmac cones, man. It's like
Yep.
I cannot wait to watch your take.
But I want to thank you, Ember. That's what you said is freaking amazing. So I had no idea that it had the truck. What happened was because I initially uploaded the video, and when it got uploaded, it was ineligible for monetization because of how I edited the music in it. And I was like, crap, I messed up the music edit. So I went back into Premiere and I fixed it. And then I downloaded it again, and then I went to do it. I uploaded it again, and I messed up, and I uploaded the wrong one. So it's like initially the vid was not eligible for monetization because of the music. So then I re-uploaded the good one, the one that works, made sure that one was solid, and then I switched it. So I lost there was 635 views on that one initially. And so I lost some stuff there, but it was within the first 5 hours. So I was like, I'll just switch it. And it's been doing okay so far. It's not great, but I had no idea that people were talking about it. I was like, I don't even know where it's showing up anywhere. It's like, it blows my mind. I'll get an email from Alan's agent here in a couple of days. With who the fuck do you think?
Well, I saw your post not long ago that you made a friend.
Yes, yeah, okay. So a lot of Alan Reacher fans out of there. A lot of Reacher fans out there. A lot of Alan Richardson fans out there. I had a dude be like, "This is the one that got me was, I don't believe in canceling, but for you, I'll make an exception." I'm like, so.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Really? It's like, and there's been some hate. Like this one got me some hate. I was kind of impressed. I was like, it's like typically I get the usual. God's the only salvation you need. Believe in Jesus. And I'm like, that's just a claim in a book. Doesn't mean it's true. And then they never respond. I'm getting some haters on this one, some bad stuff. It's like, this is fantastic. Finally some solid interactions. So it's
I like really when you insult Elon.
Oh, now there's a marketing plan for you.
Just keep punching up really high and see what happens.
The current environment about Elon being an anti-Semite and people defending him is just...
Yeah, that's why I'm not on Twitter.
The whole Twitter sphere about him, he just said something stupid. No, he said he's an anti-Semite. I mean, this is like...
You mean him going to Israel didn't make up for that?
In a parenting group, they said it best. If I break something of yours and say I'm sorry, does that magically put back together what I broke?
No.
Depends. Did we bring in?
Anyway, I can, based on the fact that I've known Steve Dace personally for the better part of 24 years. I cannot wait to watch your takedown of his shit movie. Because he staked his entire reputation on that thing. If him crying on air about its poor performance, it made me giddy.
he Jordan Petersoned it, huh?
Yeah, he totally did. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't.
But he got on air on his Blaze podcast or whatever that he does, and he's a total I think he's a lot like Greg Locke in that he believes demons are the cause for everything: cancer, sickness, aortas dissecting.
Cool.
That one, that one got a little. That one got me some hate when Dr. Greg Locke was up there being like, insinuate or implying that autism was demonic possession. I'm kind of like, I know some parents out there that would just body slam me for that statement alone. But he said there coming with stuff that was like, yeah, you're not a doctor, and asshole, stop, But some people are like, read your Bible, but yeah, Greg Locke, that dude.
He's
considering I'm being observed next week for autism. Yeah, that's gonna piss me off.
For sure. It's all demons, though.
Oh wait, I don't know if we can talk. I don't want to. I don't know how much I could say about that. But we almost had the opportunity, Mike McKinnon and I. And I think that would have been. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't know how comfortable McKinnon is with it. But man, we were almost there. We almost had access to the grand poobah himself. I wanted to be in a room with that man, and I wanted to look him in his blue eyes, and it'd just be like, you. I wanted to do that so bad. I wanted to be like the guy behind McKinnon's in the chair asking the questions. I'm standing behind him,
Your fantasies are so nonviolent.
Isn't that always the case, though? That actually surprises me, considering some of the violent hate mail that we all get from time to time. When Erica Guts at Gibbon met Ken Ham, I was expecting, this gentle modern ape to just, punch him in the face like the Nazi he is.
Oh, if only she did.
And she was just super nice, and I'm like. Well, I respect her more, but
if she did that, it would be like my cousin Vinny when he launched up and punched him in the face, just
But it's really on brand for Erica because she'll get very heated about the topic, about the subject matter, and she'll get very irritated and agitated about errors in the science or how somebody's misrepresenting something. But she never has a personal hatred for somebody. She's always been very fair to people, even people that she clearly despises their ideas or their positions. She'll still show them courtesy and respect, and she's a better person than I'll ever be.
Oh yeah, she's overly fair, overly generous and charitable in her. She's excessively fairness, you might say.
Yeah, it's the scientist in her. She's a pure scientist. She really is. If she was more human than that, we might have seen some fisticuffs, which would have been wonderful.
That sit-down chat between her and Forrest Valkai, that hour
at Seth's,
yeah, that was awesome. Legend. I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
I was glued to the.
I've had Erica on. She was great on the show, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she's just wonderful.
Great in everything she does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's one thing I love about your show, Neil. Is I just kind of stumbled into you by accident, and it turns out you're sort of a nexus point. No, it's a wonderful thing. Neil. It's a wonderful thing. You are a nexus point because you've interviewed and had people guest from all over the atheist community, and there are people I've never heard of. Every time I look through your old videos, there'll be many people that I've never heard of because I'm just sort of getting into the YouTube community of atheists and atheist communities in general. And shame on me, but I was kind of held captive for 13 years without internet access, so that kind of helped keep me out of it. But I've just learned about JL tonight, and I'm looking at this Nefarious review I so need to watch this because I got tricked into watching that movie. Holy fuck.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I do a full spoiler. It's full spoiler breakdown, the entire damn movie. So if you haven't watched it, I completely wreck it. I watched it so that you don't have to.
Well, no, I have seen it, and I'm going to feel like vindicated, I'm certain. I know, because I sat through that thing go, no, that is so fucking stupid for over and over and over.
And I'm sitting there like, listening to this. I was like, I get this. It's like, yeah, Sean Patrick Flannery, one of my favorite indie actors. I like Jordan Belfry as well. You know, it's like the acting in it, they do really, really well because they're both very talented individuals. And I'm sitting there, but I'm listening to this fucking dialogue, and I'm like, this is definitely Kerry Solomon and Chuck Konzelman who did this, working off of Steve's book, and like that they definitely adapted this because when the demon itself, when the demon Nefariamus claims that demons don't have beliefs, they have knowledge. So demons don't believe shit, they know shit. And I'm like, really? And then, but then the demon's ultimate plan is basically a gamble because it doesn't know the outcome because it's vying for a particular outcome, but it doesn't know so wait, so you believe that it will work? It's so freaking logically contradictory. It's like, what the little shit? And it had to be pointed out. But
I also hate that it feels like another attempt for like a bait and switch that Christians love to do with their they like to produce these films like they start up a new little studio and don't let on that it's a big Christian studio and so they produce these little short films and student looking films and stuff, and so people like me who are dumb and don't want to look at previews will just go, oh, I don't know, it's got an interesting looking title, sure, let me check it out.
Hey,
and I just click play. Yeah, what I do.
Can you stop making fun of our panelists, please?
the kicker that the huge thing that got me on that, and Fern, you're going to see this when you I'm not going to assume everybody's going to go and watch it, but the one thing that I thought was absolutely hilarious was in their zeal in like Chuck Konzelman and friggin' the other asshole, I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Konzelman and Solomon are so like rabid in trying to push across their particular agenda, their particular interpretation of Christianity, like what it is. They're like fundamentalist evangelical nonsense. They're so rabid in trying to do that they actually miss the forest for the trees, and they inadvertently, in attempting to shove this shit down like non-believers' throats or like whatever, they inadvertently actually confirm the atheist position while they're at it, and they don't realize that they did it. And I found that was absolutely hilarious because the whole thing is like, oh, an atheist meets a demon, but is he really a demon? That's what guys. This could be an interesting conversation. It's not, but eventually, in the end, like they do the whole thing where the atheist is like, yeah, enter me, go ahead, inhabit me, give me the proof. I'm asking you for evidence. I'm asking you for evidence. Prove me
wrong. Well, prove me wrong. He proved him wrong.
They do the whole thing where he's like, the atheist is like, I'm asking you for evidence. You're making a claim. Show me the evidence to convince me. But then it never happens until later on in the movie when it does happen. Then all of a sudden he's like, oh, now the atheist realizes this is real. The evidence it's not good evidence because it's only for him, but at least then he now has more knowledge because the demon gave him evidence, and now his position changes, which means the atheist was being logically consistent from the beginning.
There you go. You're just affirming my entire point that, like, if you could show me sufficient evidence, sure, of course I would believe. I wouldn't believe. I would come to know from the evidence. And yeah, they don't. It's a lack of self-awareness that's just absurd. And then the fact that they try to like trick people into it. Like, if you watch that movie without realizing that it's meant to be a Christian polemic, it kind of sneaks up on you and you're like, I'm getting suspicious that this is a Christian movie. Like, they are trying to make a Christian point. And you don't get that suspicion until, at least 30, 40 minutes in. And then at some point you're just like, oh yeah, this is just Christian propaganda shit. Yeah.
like all of the demons' talking points were pulled like straight off of a Fox News teleprompter.
Glenn Beck co-wrote it.
Oh no.
And then the fucker has the balls to show up in the movie at the end as himself. Hi, I'm Glenn Beck, and here's my channel. And he was like, oh man, the book Nefarious. The one that Steve wrote. He's holding it up. He's like, really? Really, Steve? He's like, oh, and here's the book I wrote. Right there at the end with Glenn Beck holding it. Congratulations.
So I see you bought a copy of your book. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah. So I went through and before I do the breakdown of the movie, I did a breakdown on all the behind the scenes stuff because I just can't leave shit well enough alone. So breaking down the connective tissue about where Glenn Beck fits in, where Konzelman and Solomon fit in, where Steve's fits in, and how all this is wrapped up in Blaze Media, and how Trilith Studios is the one that produced it, and how Trilith Studios, which was formerly Pinewood Atlanta, is now owned by the family trust, partially owned by the family trust of Dan Cathy.
Oh,
and so
man.
you start to see all the pieces of the puzzle come together as
Due
to why
diligence.
this thing was made. Right. And I was like,
Mr. Sousa's name keeps popping up. Circle that a couple times.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, but kind of horrifying when that kind of thing happens. Like
I want to see. I want to see that GIF of that guy that's like standing in front of the board with all the yarn spread out between the different pictures and documents and waving his hands around wildly.
Exactly.
A conspiracy board.
Shortly, early August, I want to say, Eric Wander, who's a frequenter of many chats, put me onto a preacher dude named Bishop Alan Didio. Apparently, he'd covered Oppenheimer. And I was like, I got to see what this dude has to say about Oppenheimer. And so I'm checking out this dude. And in his first of all, his Oppenheimer video is just absolutely batshit. Like, he outright says to his congregation, if you want to defeat the devil, the first thing you have to do is die. If you die in the spirit, if you die in the flesh, then the devil can't have you. And I'm like, did he just tell his...
Yep. All of you. Just commit it.
What is happening?
Pull the trigger, baby.
But he starts waxing eloquent about Lance Walnut from Flashpoint. And I'm like, wait a second. Flashpoint that's owned by Kenneth Copeland. Hold on now. So I go behind the curtain. Right. So I look at some of his other stuff, and he has Greg Locke on to talk about his frickin' demon movie.
Oh fuck!
And I'm like, hold on now. And then he has Gabe Perot on to talk about going to Kenneth Copeland Bible College. And I'm like, hold the fuck on now. It took all of these sons of bitches. They're all minions of Kenneth Copeland. They're all connected to him in some way.
It's very incestuous.
Who I think is Ron DeSantis' real dad, by the way.
Mikey with the theories.
You don't
there
see
we
it?
go.
No, Kenneth Copeland can actually smile.
Well, I mean, if you want to call it a smile,
it skips a generation, sweet.
I'm sorry. I wanted to cover him. I don't think I've covered. I don't think I've covered Copeland yet on my channel. I've covered some other of the fucking mouth breathing televangelists, like the prosperity gospel assholes. But I lost. I could not take that man seriously anymore, even as like a negative force in the world. Because I'd rather go after Austin. But with the whole COVID thing, when he memed himself with his COVID thing, like wind of God.
Yeah,
I was like, no one. How does anyone take you seriously, dude? You were up there on your stage yelling at COVID with your guys. You're four fucking like cult members on the side going like.
Those S's
It's like this is like next level theatrical, man. It's like, come on, dude. It's like no one is going to.
You are not a real person.
This.
Well, that's the thing. No. I think there's something about these religious movements where you have to jump the shark a little bit to get people to believe. Like I've missed the last few episodes because I've been on the road, but I'm often on Aaron Ra's Joseph Smith, where he's going through the Book of Mormon chapter by chapter, and. Every so often we come across a passage where like, how the fuck do people, like you read this passage and there's no way anyone could believe this. It's almost like Joseph Smith had a bet with one of his buddies about writing the most ridiculous thing and seeing how far he could push it and people would still believe him. And if it's overt in the Book of Mormon, but you can see the same elements in the regular Bible too. There's like, fucking talking donkey. Fuck it, I'm done. You know, like at what point do you say this is too ridiculous?
Wait, which version? As soon as you have versions of a holy book, you've already lost.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. If there
Yeah,
are virgins,
it's a little trippy.
It's over.
But I feel like in order to like really engender believers, you have to make them hurdle their own logic. You have to make them challenge and then disarm their own critical thinking to become believers. And I think Copeland does that.
They're making like the religion itself is founded, the theology itself is founded on a supernatural thing, and if we just keep understanding more and more about the natural world, we keep losing supernatural things that they can point to and go, see, my God. So they have to just, now it's gotten to the point that we understand so much about the basic nature of reality. We're so proficient at being able to learn about and grasp what our world is actually like, what the universe truly is like, that you have to go into these extreme and kind of ridiculous, preposterous proposals in order to get to the state where you can go, see, supernatural. It's God.
If they weren't indoctrinating children, this would
must be God.
Right. Mormons don't like me too. Mormons don't. I have like when I approach different denominations, I kind of like I will try to have some fun. And
you're on the right track, Sid.
Mormons don't like me very much because I'll always ask them, "Is like, oh, you're a Mormon, so you get in paradise plus 1 or paradise plus 2." And that's how I kind of kick off every time.
Yeah,
and they always
because you got to talk about the different levels of heaven. And all
they always give me that look like seriously. So Mormons don't like that. Unlike Pentecostals. When I talk to Pentecostals, it's like, oh, you're a Pentecostal, so tongues are snakes, and they're always like, oh, that's funny. Pentecostals are so much more in they have a better sense of humor. But Mormons, they don't like it. Usually we just like, so is it paradise plus 1, paradise plus 2? Which one are you going after? And it's kind of like, and they just shut down. It's like, it's such a shame.
See, well, I've had better success going for the magic underwear. Because if you're talking to
when in doubt,
right? I drove with a dude early on in my driving career who was a former Mormon. So I'm like, I don't mean to be offensive, but I have to ask, what the fuck is up with the magic underwear? And he just looks at me and he's like, we don't talk about that.
Oh, I'll talk about it. Yeah, I grew up Mormon. I'm cool with talking about it. That's fine.
Oh, this is okay. So, Fern, maybe you can give some insight into this. This is fascinating because many years ago, when I was working there, I was at my job in Texas, and I worked for.
Hold on, real quick, Dale.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just replaced all my underwear because I had to buy some new stuff, right? And the stuff I bought is literally magic.
Is
it's
it
fucking awesome?
Is it the kind that like wicks the sweat away from your balls or something?
Yes,
like,
yes.
There you go.
It breathes and it does. It's fruit of the loom, baby.
It's actually not science or not magic underwear. It's science underwear. Which is
wait. At your age, don't they just call those diapers?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
There we go. I was wondering where the soundboard was.
So my
see how they turn on us, chat. See how they turn on us.
I love because Fern, I didn't know that about you, Fern. So maybe you can give some insight to this. But it's an interesting interaction that I had with a Mormon one time. And so several years ago, I was working at my job in Texas, and so I'm at the store, and we have like one of the clerks, and this is like 16-year-old girl. She's like 16, 17 years old, and I find out that she's Mormon because we were talking about scratch-off tickets.
Was she already married?
She was not yet. And so we were talking about scratch off tickets, and I happened to comment. It was like, hey, one time I won $1,000 in a scratch off. I got really lucky, and it was like, it's like
scratch off. Okay.
And then like scratchers. Yeah. So anyway, I asked her, have you ever done scratch off tickets? She's like, no, I don't gamble. I'm Mormon. And I'm like, oh.
My condolences.
So the first thing that popped in my head was, but what do you mean you don't? And I asked her, but what do you mean you don't gamble? It's like, well, we don't do gambling like casinos or like lottery
cards,
tickets or play the lottery, anything like that. And I was like,
office pools, nope.
And I was like, so you don't gamble at all? She's like, no.
Nope.
And I'm like,
except with their lives.
But I was like, technically you do though. And she's like, what do you mean? It was like, well, technically.
Did you say that to me?
at your age, I mean, every choice you're making is technically a gamble because you don't know the ultimate outcomes. You're trying to go for a particular outcome by shaping the odds in a particular way, but you have no idea what's going to happen, like what school you're going to go to, what college you're going to go to, or like who you choose to be in your circle. These are all gambles that you make. So technically, you gamble every single day, and then I swear.
That's a semantic trick, but okay.
I know, but everyone got quiet. And they all looked at her, and she is staring at me
And they
like I just shot her dog. And then this concept that never entered her mind, and she just 180'd and walked away. Now that was one shift. I worked with this girl one shift. Never talked to her again. Never saw her again.
She probably fled.
Just kind of it got me.
Broke my brain.
I'm not comfortable around him.
Rebooted the server.
I am not comfortable around him. I do not want to work with him again.
16-year-old has left the chat.
Doorknob head here. Hang on. Yeah, this one here. A story with a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, frankly, I was. Yeah,
wait,
concerned at first.
No, you got to finish that. A story with a 17-year-old girl, and she winds up running away. That's a bad story.
Yeah.
Not good. So what is it that you expect me to be able to comment on regarding that story? Just the fact that she wasn't married yet?
Yeah.
Just some insight to them, because when she was so shocked, I asked her, has no one ever brought that up to you before? And she didn't respond. She just turned around and walked away. So I'm kind of what that kind of upbringing that would lead her to, if she was faced with this kind of concept, all she can do is run. And
okay. Yeah. So I grew up in Salt Lake City, so the epicenter of Mormonville, and it's very easy there to be culturally insulated. It's a fundamentalist religion in some ways, and part of the ways that they manage that is through the typical cultish control of your social circles, keeping you with the in-group, the way Jehovah's Witnesses might, or I don't know, Adventists or some shit, where they're all just really insular. Other people are worldly, we are spiritual. And so, it's entirely possible that she hasn't been challenged much in her life. She hasn't run into people that are directly in opposition or even just willing to be skeptical about her beliefs. She's been so insulated from them that everybody around her they all repeat the same phrases, they all reinforce the same dogma, and so she's not accustomed to having somebody throw up an obvious contradiction in her face, even if it's a semantic trick, which, it was. But yeah, to look at things from a different perspective doesn't make a lot of sense to somebody who's wrapped up inside of that cult mentality. So that's my only take on it, other than the fact that, she's almost 18. She'll be out to pasture soon.
Mm-hmm.
Mormons.
Better hurry up and get you some.
No. Don't you finish that joke. Nope. You let that. Cutting room. You leave that on the cutting.
This is a Christian server.
Yeah, how dare you, my Christian Minecraft server?
Somebody in one of my. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to address Brother Sid in the chat there.
Two
things I want to tell you, Brother Sid, is arguments aren't evidence. They're just that. They're arguments. So.
Oh, does that mean we're ending the show?
No, hold on. And I'm being an atheist. I find that the idea that the question of God's existence is meaningless because the word God pretty much has no coherent or unambiguous definition. So until you give me a definition of what you mean by God, then we can go from there, and then I'll tell you whether or not I think something like that could exist. Because unfortunately, what we know of, and if he's immaterial, then he doesn't exist, because material things exist and immaterial things don't exist. So,
well, there are immaterial things like electromagnetic radiation, but to say something's transcendent, that it's outside the universe,
right? That's also
transcendent stuff.
It definitionally does not exist.
We can measure, so it does exist, and it is material. We can measure it.
I'm trying to figure out whose brother is Sid.
I don't know.
I think he's somebody's brother.
But until such time,
essentially, I don't know, brothers. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. So until such time, until we actually have a definition of what you mean by God, then there's no point to talking about whether or not a God exists. Mm-hmm. And I don't really care if he does, because if he does, then he's a what you call a deadbeat dad, then, because he's thousands of children are molested by priests all the time, and he does nothing about that. And you're going to tell me that they don't pray for him to intervene and maybe put a stop to it, and he does nothing.
Well, they don't have a whole church praying for them, so apparently that's what it is. You have to have a whole church praying for you,
in public anyways, according to the Bible.
There's a certain critical mass.
You will invariably
Yeah.
You will invariably hang your own God, brother said, within the confines of your own definition of your own God. You will invariably hang him. So
I mean, I really kind of hate syllogisms at this point. I'm getting sick and tired of them because really, in the end, it's all just sort of intellectual masturbation. I just don't.
Yeah, pretty much.
At best,
we're not really getting
got
anywhere.
crap like,
oh, hey, Stephanie.
this precept argument is just like, first of all, it's not the conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. The premises aren't true to begin with. They aren't sound. They aren't founded in logic. But also, you can substitute anything in for the arbitrary whatever magical majigget. Let's run through the argument.
Universe farting
real
pixies.
quick here.
Flying spaghetti monster is a necessary precondition.
Flying spaghetti monster is a necessary precondition for logic and morality because these are immaterial yet real universals.
Why?
People depend on logic and morality, showing that they depend on the universal, immaterial, and abstract realities, which could not exist in a materialist universe, but presupposes or presumes.
Does not follow.
Therefore, flying spaghetti monster exists. If he didn't, we couldn't rely on logic, reason, morality, etc.
I'm
Ramen.
more into post-up arguments because I think arguing on an empty stomach is a bad idea.
Well, that's why you need the spaghetti monster. It says meatballs.
Exactly. How can anyone deny the giant meaty balls?
essentially, brother said the primary issue. And I did a full deconstruction on Van Til, and I actually spent the time to read his crap. But I did a deconstruction of him on my channel. That video's there when I deconstruct Van Til and deconstruct his presuppositionalism. If you're not familiar, brother Sid, with the Clark Van Til incident, the Clark Van Til controversy, you definitely look into that because that was when the Reformed Church actually sided against Van Til in his arguments. So definitely look into that. But essentially, what Van Til was doing was he was identifying this concept that why these things are true in this regard. It's like why do these things seem to be grounded like logic and from a metaphysical perspective? He was basically asking a question that we don't currently have an answer, like a sufficient answer to. So you can hypothesize all day long that there is a thing that exists that does this particular thing. Is essentially what it is. You have X is necessary for Y to be grounded. And so Van Til identified that, and then he turned around and he identified X as God, and then deliberately defined God as that which is necessary to accomplish Y. That is all Van Til did. He said, there's a question we can't answer, and so I will define God as that which answers that question necessarily. That's not how logic works, and that's not how you form a syllogism. That's not how you do anything. You don't make up answers. You don't cut the answer out of fucking whole cloth and say, ha ha, I have now defeated all atheism, because you can't be coherent at all. Obviously he was not familiar with Wittgenstein. You don't need absolute knowledge in order to have knowledge. That's the reality of the situation. Yes, we're humans. We're subjective. There is a breakpoint between our subjective internal experience and that which we would identify as objective or absolute reality or absolute truth. We don't have access to that because of our subjective internal experiences. All we can do is increase the likelihood, the probability that a proposition we're making is true. We increase that likelihood to what I believe is called sigma 5 standards. That's what that is. That's the best we can do until we can finally access what would be objective reality. But the problem is, even if we could access objective reality, we'd never be able to say it was objective reality. That's the problem.
Correct.
So, are we getting to the bat in the brain part yet?
Yeah. So all we can do is try to increase the likelihood. When Van Til when precepts are making absolute claims, it is bullshit because they don't have access to absolute reality.
It's already a loss.
The problem. It's already a loss.
Yep.
So done.
I think maybe Fred farted so that I might live is my new motto.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's trying to take a shortcut. It's trying to define your God into existence.
Well, yeah, the whole point was if you when people really dive into Van Til, the whole idea behind what he was doing. If you look at number one, the man was deeply influenced by a number of fascist individuals over in Europe, which was really, really bad. But Van Til saw the problem with it. He had a real problem with progressivism or liberalism because he felt that liberal approaches to religion gave people too many outs to question their religion and eventually wind up leaving it. So that's why that's the motivation that he had for coming up with his presuppositional apologetic. The whole point was to literally shut the mouth of the unbeliever and not convince people that God exists, but to stop people from leaving the faith. That was the goal, was to basically create a barrier. It was like, you can't question this, therefore you have no justification for leaving or even questioning it at all. So that's it. His goal was dishonest. It wasn't to try and further things. And this was identified in the Clark Van Til debacle when Clark was going to be excommunicated from the Reformed Church. And so he debated Van Til, and they were going to make this big decision. We're going to kick you out, Clark, if you're wrong. And they sided with Clark because Van Til's position is fucking axiomatic. That's all it is. He basically is just saying, this is what it is because this is what it is. And Clark was saying, we have to acknowledge that this position is held axiomatically. We have to, because if we don't come at it with intellectual honesty, people are going to call us on that, and that is going to in turn work against us in believing that they should stay with the church. If we come at them honestly and admit this point, people will be more inclined to stay because we're being honest. And they sided with Clark, and Van Til, he couldn't take that shit. So literally, all you have to do is read about the man's life and realize that he was an atrocious debater, he was an atrocious philosopher, and his methods were dishonest from the get-go. Stop.
I can disprove an omnibenevolent.
Precept is philosophically bankrupt. Stop using it.
I can do the disproving of an omnibenevolent God in 2 words. Henry Kissinger.
When I found out he'd recently died, I was shocked to know he'd still been alive.
Ooh, post-mortem burn.
Yeah. Me too, Fern.
Wait, so Brother Sid asked something a minute ago. It said, first of all, he mentioned thanks to you, Neil, about introducing him to the term atheist, because it's a good term.
Oh.
But he asked this question. He says, as far as evidence, would you agree that someone can be given sufficient evidence for something yet not be convinced? And my only thought on that is just that, well, then I guess it wasn't sufficient, was it?
Well,
right?
My response.
Yeah, but we do often run into a problem where people conflate convinced a thing exists and worship that thing.
Right.
Like, we can believe a thing exists and not decide to join its church.
Yeah, if I did believe that thing was real, that God is a terrible piece of filth. I would have nothing to do with it. I reject it wholly.
Well, you got to remember as well, this whole discussion of religion with the whole God thing, a big part of that is the existence of an afterlife as well, right? Because there has to be one in order for you to go to either heaven or hell or wherever the fuck these different religions have different places.
Weird.
Right.
It's the whole thing, though, right?
I just don't believe, in a spiritual transcendental realm of some kind. I just don't believe it's there. I don't see any reason to believe in it.
I mean,
that's the problem.
You're not having the right
I explored different ideas as I grew up. I kind of like the idea of reincarnation. You know, whether it's based on what you do in this life or not, whatever the case. No. But you know, to push a restart, try again, something like that. It sounded interesting to me.
It's attractive.
But to get afterlife in Christianity based on ancient Jewish texts just doesn't fucking track, because the Old Testament, Psalms is chock full of when you die, you're gone. That's it. There is no more. It's right there in the Bible. I think Solomon wrote something about Sheol or Gehenna, but he made it clear that it was everybody goes there. There is no reward. There is no punishment. You're just gone from this world.
Yeah, the ancient
and I'm like,
the ancient
where the
idea
hell
of Sheol,
does this heaven business come from?
Well, the ancient idea of Sheol was a place where all the undead went, and that it wasn't meant to be a place of punishment. It was just or reward. That's where you go when you die. That's where you end up, and it was like a physical idea, like you said, very similar to Greece, like what they believed in terms of the afterlife. Well, that it was the
Greco-Roman
one realm.
Well, you blame Alexander. He's the one that spread the Greco-Roman.
Damn it, Alexander!
What a dick.
And that one and that
never
basically spurred on a lot of religions into the heaven hell aspect.
Yeah.
Well, in order for there to be an afterlife, that means that consciousness would have to be something that is entirely separate from our physical body, which it isn't. Consciousness at the very basic level is a series of atoms and electrons, which essentially give us our mind.
Oh yeah, how often?
Because
I blame Alex's teacher.
Aristotle.
I've separated from my consciousness 4 different times.
Well, the laws of the universe do not allow the particles to operate after our physical demise.
And isn't that like a thing that Christians like to use a lot? Science can't explain consciousness, but we can. Like they do that shit all the time, right?
I mean,
right here in this
kinda can.
I don't believe
we
in
don't have a
reincarnation. I believe
full
in recycling.
comprehensive definition, but we can describe it as an emergent property.
We've definitely identified. We've definitely identified a correlative relationship and a causative relationship. So as far as it goes, like we know that brain, active brain, working functional brain, consciousness, dead brain, no consciousness, no detectable consciousness, and then of course the correlation that different areas of the brain function and the formation of different areas of thought and deal like that. So there's a correlation and there's a causative factor. So it's not absolute, but it's as far as we can tell so far. So there's no reason to assume anything beyond that. So
at the same
Yeah,
time,
right. And the brain damage thing, how a personality can change when the brain is damaged.
And
I think people overcomplicate this immensely.
I feel personally attacked.
So many theists run away when you bring up like the Phineas Gage, the case of Phineas Gage, and a number of others. Like there was that French guy who went in, who was like in his 40s and he went to the hospital with a headache. And, was never had any problems, no physical ailments, nothing. He just had a headache that wouldn't go away. So he goes to the hospital, they do an MRI and find out that like 90% of his brain is liquid. That the only remaining brain tissue had was basically the outside area, about the 10% skin, outside of his brain. And what he come to find out, what they discovered was that he had a
He'd been voting Republican.
he had a degenerative neurological condition for his entire life. It was congenital. He was born with it. And so his brain had been liquefying slowly but surely throughout the entire course of his life. But it really blew open the door about neuroplasticity and how the brain reacts to trauma. And luckily, his degeneration was slow enough for his brain to rewire itself in response to the trauma so that he never lost any functionality. Until eventually he was like, man, I got this headache that won't quit. And then he goes to the hospital. There you go.
And they told him to stop voting Republican.
I mean, that's just proof of good design, right?
Way to go, Ember. Had to ruin it.
They're trying to call you about that warranty.
Yeah. Take it back to the manufacturer if you can find them.
That sounds like my car. Actually, it does sound exactly like what my car's done. Just the computer turned off, so now I can't turn it on anymore.
Zombie Slurpee.
Nate Smith.
Nate.
Fuck you. Just, hello, all you sexy bastards, and you too, Neil. Apparently, I don't register on the sexy meter. Just a quick one little thing about the whole consciousness thing about here. This is a quote by Sean Carroll, who's a physicist. It says, claims that some form of consciousness that persists after our bodies die and decay to their constituent atoms faces one huge, insuperable obstacle. The laws of physics underlying everyday life, as we know it, are completely understood, and there's no way within those laws to allow for the information stored in our brains to persist after we die.
And if you don't have the information that's in your brain, you're not you anymore.
That's correct.
That gets into those
which is a very hard thing to swallow while watching a grandparent pass away due to dementia, Alzheimer's, and it was a very long. This was right during my deconversion, right before my grandparents were passing away. My grandfather didn't know who he was, didn't know who any of us were. So I was wrestling with the question of, is this really my grandpa anymore? Physically, DNA wise, yes.
Right.
But they don't know who I am anymore. They have no memories. They have nothing.
That's
or a parent. When my dad had suffered from Alzheimer's for quite some time, and he was hemi-demi semi-aware of my life's journey, and
oh my god,
what was that?
There was a sad trombone sound effect, but that wasn't me. My buttons are way over there.
not it.
What's that?
As you know, in the last week of his life, he was asking my sister, "Where's the boy? Where's the boy? Where's the boy?" And I went down on to visit him on Palm Sunday before he died, and he's looking at me and going, "Where's the boy?" And I just said, "I'm here, Daddy." And he died 3 days later. It's just, it is so sad to see that thing happen.
Deterioration like that. Yeah, my grandmother went through that. She didn't recognize me either by the time she was gone.
Yeah, my grandmother's
She kept telling the nurse.
Yeah. It's sad, but also terrifying, because you see that happen to another person, and you can't help but realize it would be you someday, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what would that be like? That's just...
Oh,
to take it on a slightly less dark area.
You guys are like a fucking barrel of fucking yuck.
Well, this is why everybody wants to come hang out with the Atheists, because we're so fucking positive.
Way to keep it light, everybody.
I think we are positive because I think we're tremendously positive. I think that's I think that skepticism and atheism is incredibly positive, because it's grounded in the here and now, and it's grounded in what's going on around us. And you know,
I think it's
not,
okay.
We're
to
not
have
reliant on the hope for the hereafter. We're founded on, at least I am anyway. I'm founded on the hope for the future of this world and the people inhabiting it. I don't see the point. If everything, you know, if everything is up yonder in the sweet by and by, then you're giving up on the possibility of making this world a better one.
Yeah, it's especially with your
I find that sad, to be honest.
Yeah, the apocalyptic approach in particular really bothers me, because it's like, well, it doesn't matter because pretty soon Jeebus is coming back. Like, that attitude has been spoiling people's lives for 2,000 years. It's time to grow up.
Yep. Now, I promised at the end of the last show that I would show off my new Lego set.
Yay. Legos!
So let's.
Oh my God, I'm back in a Neil show. Yes.
It's not the venerator or whatever. That's on the list, but it's something I'll have to get at some other time. I also want to get the Batcave. I want to get the Avengers Tower. I want to get a bunch of them. So to add to my gigantic collection, as you can see right over there. No, this one is the first Technic set that I've ever purchased. I think I had one as a kid, but it was a really small one, and they had just come out with them. This one is the Mars rover.
Nice.
Sweet.
Tight.
The new one or the dead one?
Oh, the new one.
Hey.
Oh, too
Have
soon.
some respect.
I actually cried a little bit at that documentary. I did. That was
I did too.
10 years that little butter did like trucked on. I was like, and then it just
sung happy birthday.
It's
That's
just like,
because you're human.
That is the saddest sound ever. It's Endeavor, right? Endeavor singing happy birthday to itself. It is the saddest thing you could possibly. It's robot.
Relatable.
It's a robot on an alien planet singing its own happy birthday because I guess it should care.
I like the idea that after it got done singing the song to itself, it just like kicked a rock. You know,
I cried like end of T2.
I don't need to be
big anymore.
I cried like end of T2 cried. I really did. It was like, you know, like the thumbs up. I was like, keep going, little guy. It's like, no.
But did you
That
cry
just-
Old
Fucking
Yeller
Arnold kicks
crying?
the shit out of Endeavor.
I did not cry. I did not cry Old Yeller cry. I didn't cry that. It's funny you bring it because I made an Old Yeller reference in my last video. So
Where the where
Aha.
the red fern grows.
Why I brought it up.
That's a
Hey, we don't talk about the red one.
Okay.
I always
Scarlet
occasionally I try to reference something that traumatized us all when we were young. I like if I'll bring up Artax or like Old Yeller or something that just like Bambi's mom, something that really like hit us with like the Brave Little Toaster, something that really fucked with us, or Watership Down. Oh,
Littlefoot's
I love
mom.
Oh, man.
Littlefoot's
Watership
mom.
Down.
Littlefoot's mom is a good one. Yeah.
Number 5 is alive.
Johnny 5, fucking short circuit.
You know, I don't know if they made a
I had
Lego
the same
set
thing
of
with
that.
Wally. With Wally, when Wally was
yeah.
like damaged, and then she like revives him, and he wakes back up, and then like his memory is gone. I was like, oh, because you think it like technologically,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, his memory was wiped, and it's like all that progress is. I felt like when I don't say progress on a script, I'm like, son of a bitch, I lost it all, and I was like, oh, he's gone. It's just it just breaks my heart.
My
It's like,
baby.
Lost all his coins and everything.
right.
I lost all my gems and my streak, bro.
He's gonna have to start the whole level over.
Speaking of
you're gonna
Mars.
have to re-download all your packs, bro. That sucks.
Is it
That's
new
like one of the
today
worst things is
from
like,
the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter?
Uh-oh.
You could.
So,
this
language-
is trippy as hell to me because you can see like the lower layer of Mars's atmosphere and then the upper reaches too. And Mars has a stupid thin atmosphere. It's like 11 millibars. It's
Why are we
in
highlighting
this,
that?
in this economy,
right. It's so trippy to me because down where the landers are, it's the atmosphere is the thickest because they're way down at the bottom. Near the vertical elevation.
Baby. You got to stay where the action is.
Yeah, but the vertical elevation on Mars is so ridiculous that I mean it's 30 kilometers top to bottom. There's 5-kilometer high cliffs. There's 27-kilometer volcanic calderas. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous, and the atmosphere is 11 millibars at the bottom.
Bro. I'm signing.
Yeah.
So, Brother Sid, yes, language is a human construct, just like all the gods ever.
And just like Pokemon, everything about that. How do you like it when people bring up
Hey,
shit that doesn't
Pokemon
matter?
prove evolution.
Yeah.
Just look at my Eevees.
Yeah.
That's exactly how evolution
Doorknob.
works.
Yes.
It's the same way.
I actually have that picture somewhere. It's the picture of Darwin. The picture of like Darwin, like in his little office
He's
like
Eevee.
that, and there's Pokemon everywhere, and he's just like, yeah, this is right. I'm like, I just love that moment.
It checks out, yeah.
This one moves.
I would love to see like
Do something.
like a Darwin or something doing like holding up a
Eevee.
Pokemon cartridge up close, holding out a little bit, nodding his head. Okay. I will take that. How many space bucks for your laser game?
There you go, Jail.
Nice, very cool.
Luffy.
So yeah, if you go and find the episode with Blondie, the big dude with the lion cub on his head, if you go and find that episode, or any of the 2 episodes with Heat from Kids Pirates, you go and find those. That's my voice in there, so you can enjoy my contribution to the One Piece universe.
Absolutely.
Are you in the Pedia?
Yes.
Yeah.
I already looked that up.
Now that's how you know you have a lasting legacy and a mark on history.
So Neil, maybe now we'll show up in the Pedia.
I tell you, it was absolutely surreal. Like, because I know that because I've had people like, he's like, you were on One Piece, that's amazing. But the first time it happens in real life, like when the person's like there in front of you. Like I remember I was at this thing. It's like this whatever. I came down in Texas, and it was happening in conversation. The guy was like it was like this dude who I just met, and I was there with my wife. And we got to talking about anime because he was a big anime fan. He was like, yeah, and I freaking love One Piece. He's like, oh, that's a cool show. I did some voice work on that. And he was like, and he just changed in front of me. It's like he almost went Gollum and started like approaching me. And I was like, it was kind of like, it was like, hey man, what's happening? And he was just like, he just got it was so surreal. It was like his whole demeanor just like changed. It was like, I'm not a god, dude. I stood in a booth for 4 hours and went, did stuff and made funny voices. It was like, but apparently it was so weird.
No, it was more.
Well, remember, in the immortal words of Bill Murray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's buying the local team over here, that baseball team. I will report to you guys as soon as the season kicks off. I think I'm gonna go to the opener. Dude, those games, like, I could probably get front row. 25
nowadays it wouldn't be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You'd have Bluey trying to destroy the city.
Mike, you a Cubbies fan or a White Sox fan?
I am a St. Louisan first. So in the National League, I am a Cardinals fan.
And now the religion comes out.
And then so for the American League, I can tolerate the Sox because they used to win a lot when I was in high school. So that was fun.
The Sox are the shit.
They used to lose a lot when I was in high school.
Well,
constantly.
It seems like for the foreseeable future, it's going to continue to be the case.
Ooh, fuck yes. The Seahawks are beating the Cowboys.
My Bears are hurting this year, and that's what sucks. Ouch.
Yeah, I gave up on football.
This is the one football game I watch a year.
Oh, what am I doing? I was actually about to respond to Brother Sid. Why am I doing that? Why am
I
was just doing the same thing.
I was sitting there. I was like,
the whole world.
I was halfway through typing. It was like, why am I doing this? It's like,
yep, I got 3 words in, and I'm like, this is dumb.
Why am I?
Wait! Everybody, wait! I just want to thank Brother Sid for one thing. I asked him to save all of this for the after party, and he did. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Like, this has been a much more interactive
Wait a minute. So
because you did it at this time as opposed to while he's trying to tell a story.
Oh, okay. So Brother Sid getting in there and asking us to defend our worldviews is because of you?
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're a jackass again. Damn it.
It's better him asking us now, though.
Even when I win, I lose.
You're right, though. That's, yeah.
Even when I lose, I win.
Did you win the game, Shannon, or what? Sorry, Shannon says happy birthday, Steph.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday, Steph.
Happy birthday.
What? Our sail lady is birthday?
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came alive.
For you. Wow.
This is my 70s show. At 7:16 this evening, p.m. I
Eastern time.
Eastern time. I was born in the Eastern time zone, so I'm trying to be consistent in terms of time frames.
Yeah.
Do I need to pull my fucking birth certificate up here anyway?
Yes. No. In fact, you do.
Did they have those then?
Fucking
do I have to go to my car and get mine now?
Share screen.
2 witnesses as well, please.
I'm gonna get kicked out.
No, I just want to say to Brother Sid, because Brother Sid's
don't do that. Put that away. Stop.
Brother Sid's like defend your worldview, stuff like this. So Brother Sid, I'm just gonna throw this out there without like derailing. If you had been listening to anything any of the glorious minds on this panel were saying in the last hour,
and me.
Yeah, I said something too.
It was all. I said the glorious minds on this panel. I mean, it's collective. It's the set It is the
I didn't say
set
anything.
of
All encompassing.
Yeah, he didn't say anything.
so-
Count him out.
It's omnipresent.
Hail, comrade.
And brother, if you'd actually been listening, brother, if you'd actually been listening to any of it instead of waiting for your opportunity to say the next thing, which is what like precepts have for some reason is like a universal problem with y'all, is that you are just waiting for a moment to like throw in there and you're not actively listening. If you'd done that, we would have explained how we justify these things. Okay? Intelligibility meaning just understanding. But we went through that already. But you didn't listen to it. Right. So how about this? You catch it on the replay and stop using precept because it's rotting your brain.
Yeah.
Like poisons everything.
You can't. I mean, the only thing you can presuppose is the framework of logic, and you immediately dismiss logic when you start making silly arguments like this. It's just ridiculous.
This is a very, very different episode. Normally, we're talking about like Girl Scout cabals and fucking disc golf and weed,
disc golf,
in a dog costume in the woods.
It's ridiculous.
I got a cease and desist letter. Little girl came up with some cookies. I was like, yo, I didn't order no cookies. She's like, we know. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I was like,
that's what the fuck we were saying.
Yeah,
damn it. Now I want some. Now I want some.
They got power.
They got all the juice. What you talking about? Don't mess with the Girl Scout.
Shannon,
I got cookies.
Can you do a wellness check on Ollie, man? Because I'm not sure.
I don't think JL knows this, but Ollie still has like denied $10,000 goddamn dollars that I'll give him right the fuck now.
Oh my god!
He also says he's killer at disc golf, but we don't want to go there. It's like
$10,000 on the table, Ollie.
I had 3 aces this summer. 3.
See, there you go.
3.
Who gives a shit about aces? $10,000 fucking dollars, Ollie.
What?
Are we talking $10,000 or 10,000 Canadian?
No, I'll give him USD.
Check in my hand. Check in my hand.
I bet you will.
I'm sure you've seen what $10,000 looks like in the movies. I assure you, it's quite different.
And Sid, 2 things atheism isn't. One is a worldview, and the second one is a religion.
Oh, is he doing that?
One thing. You believe in a God? No, I don't. Then you're an atheist. That's all it is.
Dictionary, and then there's atheists.
Always make sure you're well stocked. That's my worldview. All right.
There you go, Ollie.
All right, there we've hit disc golf.
Sure.
We've hit the Girl Scouts,
flaunt your supplies in front of the freaking person who's under DOT regulation can't even go near that shit.
If your God was good, then how the fuck did Henry Kissinger live to
100? He beat Betty White.
I seriously didn't think he was still alive. I thought that dude had died years ago. I was like,
there was the meme. The longest running meme is "Death at the Claw Machine." Going, is Henry Kissinger even in this thing?
There's your argument that Henry Kissinger lived. That Henry Kissinger saw 100 and Betty White didn't. There's your argument right there.
Man,
yeah, so wrong.
But if there is a God, it isn't a moral one because it allows that.
Cheesecake.
Oh, Shannon wins.
Shannon wins. What if he did die years ago and we're all experiencing Mandela effect?
Oh, that could.
Wouldn't
this be the back?
Who knows?
What's the inverted version of the Mandela effect?
I don't know.
Nelson
the anti-Mandela? Yeah, there you go. Okay, the Nelson effect. We'll go with that.
The Nelson effect.
And I'm required to take Mikey's word for it because it's the only person of color on the panel if you don't count Mike Green.
I mean,
okay.
Green is a color, but also there's lots of peachy people.
Peachy people.
All right, I give up.
That's from my oldest. My oldest came home from school one day and said, "What the hell is a white person?" And I'm like, "Well, you're a white person." And they were like, "I'm not white. I'm peachy." I'm like,
I'm skin tone. I just have a crayon called that. I'm like,
yeah,
well, what skin are we talking about?
I know.
Raise the weasel.
I'm so glad when they changed that.
It was the matte. It was like the flesh-colored matte pencil, is what it was. If you remember matte pencils from back in the day.
Yes.
Talking a big game in wintertime when that summer sun ain't out. I see what's going on.
I was genuinely confused.
Now we all know that
Talking a
brothers
lot of shit. That sun missing.
I was genuinely
Mikey,
confused by
I
flesh color
saw
and not have it be red. Because if you cut something open, that's the flesh color.
Mikey, I saw you popping into my birthday stream earlier.
Y'all was going off in there.
Back into the show. It's like, I wanted to just say hi, bye, but
no, y'all was getting a little too intense in there for me. I was like, all right.
Was this a stream on YouTube or was it a more nefarious platform?
YouTube. No, it was on YouTube.
Nefarious.
It's my 70th
Still
birthday.
going, isn't it?
What do you know?
If there's anything more nefarious than YouTube.
What do you know?
Yeah, well, we're airing on someone else's channel too because we have.
Yeah, you're airing on mine because why not?
Are we multi-streaming?
Yeah.
Seeing as you did the same to me, it's turnabout's fair play, right?
Well, I didn't know we were being multi-streamed here. I'm not sure if you can do that without my consent. That's
okay.
It's an option in StreamYard, so you better argue with them.
Well, fun fact about the way StreamYard works: once you turn on access to a channel, you cannot turn it off again until the stream ends.
That reminds me of my ex-wife.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like, Steph, if you wanted to stop, you can't stop it. Neil can do anything now and get your channel demonetized.
That's all right because my channel's not monetized. And I'm trying to get it.
Mine.
Come on.
I will say I've always assumed that this after party is not monetized because I ruin all monetizations.
Oh, these are all monetized, but they all end up being restricted.
18 plus.
Yeah, like they all end
it's
up
the song
like
lyrics.
yellow clubs
or
back
red.
in the day. Oh, it's like I was going to
All
go
mine
to this
are
place,
yellow.
but it was restricted.
Some of the topics.
So they're all monetized at first. Well, let's fix that in this show right now.
No, they're all monetized.
No, we can solve this.
So many ads can go on.
I'm doing it as a favor.
No, so the problem is they're stuck in the yellow and you're trying to get them to the red. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we're not trying hard enough.
How crazy does this train go?
All right, so what do we have to talk about to be sure to demonetize?
I mean, to be fair,
we did mention what the?
We've already crossed that bridge several.
Oh, did we?
Several.
Was it when we talked about priests molesting kids? Was that when it happened?
Yep.
Whoa. Ding, 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 ding. And we did it, ladies and gentlemen, in only 30 seconds. Congratulations.
Good at that. I told you.
Oh, there's another one.
ETF.
I warned you. Well, after the fact, but still.
Yeah, I noticed that weird quirk about StreamYard a while back. Nara the Atheist was doing a stream and opened up the room, and so I went in, and I think Steph, you went in, but Nitty was on, and then after an hour or two, Nitty got really, really tired and went to bed. And the stream kept going on Nitty's channel for like another 4 hours because he couldn't turn it off. Only the person who has the end stream button can end it.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you for the insight.
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, it has its pluses. Like you could go to bed and the content keeps producing itself while you're away.
Yeah.
I dated a girl like that.
It's almost as if the consciousness continues.
I'm sure that proves something.
It's almost
Stephanie, you're fired.
It's almost
Ergo God.
Okay.
Ergo.
Listen.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Cat Jesus is ontologically superior to any of your mortal gods.
I still never heard a good argument against Eric the magic god eating penguin.
Have you ever been to a hospital? Have you ever been to the ontology department in a hospital?
Oh no. Shannon Q, let me know.
I'm here for my ontology. I'm here for my ontology examination. Where do I go? What do I have to do? Oh, you can't eat anything or drink anything for 24 hours. No. Make it 40 days.
I'm telling you, man, the ontology department at the hospital's got to be the hardest place to work. And the exams to become an ontologist. Jesus Christ. Well, not literally Jesus. Never mind.
What if you have a pulp of some nature? I'm sorry. I should go away now.
So this is what happens when you turn 70, eh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Something to look forward to.
And have a couple of rums. There you go.
You turn into a goofball.
I wonder what'll happen to Mikey then. He's got a head start.
Oh, there it is. Thought I had my back exposed there for a second. Yep, that confirms it.
For being a plant, you're just whipping fire, Fern.
Good night, Shannon.
Burn.
Thanks, Shannon. Thank you
Mikey
very
doesn't
much.
like me.
Have a good night, Shannon.
Love you.
Bye.
Good
night, Shannon.
Be a real shame if somebody left a window open and let a draft in the house.
Uh-oh.
Be real bad for somebody's foliage, I think.
Mikey, have I ever told you how much I appreciate what you do for
I
this channel?
think this window should be cracked open. I like to have the breeze.
I love how we joke, you and I.
Oh, gotcha. Is it locked or is it unlocked?
Oh, just the kidding, the bon ami, the camaraderie.
Is it,
this cute little back and forth we have without any real teeth to it.
It's without any real teeth to it. It's flipping inward. I don't know what this window. I hate it.
I have to say, I've got to admire Brother Sid for trying to rail this conversation back into serious topics. When it's like,
you're not gonna live with that.
Well, I mean, you know what they say? Trying to get a group of atheists, it's like herding cats, which is why you need Cat Jesus.
Yes, I'll vote for him.
I already got a cat in the other room.
Wait a minute. Cat Jesus probably has a catechism.
Hey, would you break fucking
Yeah.
Oh, geez, here we go.
Oh no, not the pun hour.
No. Sorry, Mike.
A few minutes because we're almost at closing time here, folks.
I'm just glad somebody else is going to take the heat now.
No, you.
What'd you say, Neil?
Don't you do it.
I said it can't be the pun hour because we're almost at closing time.
Is that right?
Cat spray compels you.
That's correct.
Is that right, Neil?
Closing time, is that when they stop selling liquor?
Neil's got to get up in the morning.
Closing.
Call him Bulk. Put him back on the mount.
He needs to gather his epistemology sample before he goes to sleep.
Got to get it to the ontologist before 8 a.m.
I got to go smoke my smoking. My smoking. Yeah, see, I got to go smoke my.
You already smoked it. Neil.
Apparently, you've had enough for today.
You told us this already. Neil.
There's no such thing as enough.
Sir, are you intoxicated? No.
He just ran away. It's unbelievable. What the fuck?
I got a sweet little slidey thing you can go over top of your camera, and so people can't watch you masturbating. So anyway,
I'm not in.
Convenient.
There we go.
I can't be intoxicated. I don't even know what intoxicated means. So
I mean, I just turn off my camera when I want to turn off my camera.
You got one of those cameras. I've got the little slide, the little shutter, like the little
that's what I got.
Switch.
Yeah.
Those are very convenient.
Just make sure you mute first because it's like you turn the camera off and we don't need that.
We don't want to hear that fertilizer.
I'm rolling dice, guys. Trust me.
Yeah.
Touching my roots.
Just friggin' hammering that shit like he's in a hammering that shit like he's in a domestic dispute.
Doing
a Kent Hovind impression.
Man. Whacking atheist indeed.
Oh my god!
Just sitting there like,
damn it, Fern.
Why aren't you doing what I want you to do? Do what I want you to do.
Look what you've made me do.
I love you guys.
There's this guy, and there's this guy that in a lightning regatta, he's going along and sailing along. The boat gets hit with a wind gust. The boat, broaches. It like capsizes, and
I was gonna kick him.
The three people in the water, and they're trying to right the boat, and this guy is sitting there screaming, "Look what you've done to me now, crew!" It's like. You driving,
Captain. Yeah, because captains aren't responsible for the way.
Look what you've done! Look what you've done! You fool!
What you've done to me now?
Spider-Man meme. Everyone starts pointing at the other guys. Oh, whose fault?
Hey,
I love the Spidey
in the
memes.
middle of your story.
JL, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I really like your as I've listened to quite a few of them. The This Week in Horror.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I want to know if you ever have guests on those shows. It seems to be. It's always the same old crew that seems to be there.
Right. So the original setup on Week in Horror was we did bring guests on. Those episodes are on YouTube, so you can go and listen to them. We would bring industry professionals on to basically join us in the round table and talk about the movies that we were going to talk about that week. The difficulty in that was it worked during the pandemic because people weren't working that regularly, so I could give them movies to watch. They'd have the time to watch them, but once the pandemic was over and everybody was busy, I couldn't expect someone who's going to come on the show to be able to have the time to watch 4 movies and then come on and talk about them. So it was just unrealistic. So what I did was I broke that off and I created what's called the Week in Horror Front Row, which you may see because those come up every single month. So I will bring a professional on for a sit down kind of like one-on-one open discussion about their questions. It's not really a formal like interview, but just kind of like, let's sit down and talk about horror and stuff like this and your career and the movies you've made and all kinds of stuff. And I've done that a few times. We've got the rest of the year all scheduled out and already shot and done. So those are coming out here pretty soon. But yeah, so I created a whole new thing called the Front Row series. That our supporters, our Patreon supporters, they all have early access to that stuff, and then it will come out to the YouTube channel as well. So you can those are those sit down kind of like talks.
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe I could pop into one episode at some point, but I know you guys have a total structure thing going on there, so I don't think me popping in would really fit the mold. But I mean, you guys do live streams from time to time, don't you?
We live stream. So the live show is every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central. So
yeah.
What we do is so on Wednesday we live stream the show, and then the week we're talking about is the week that starts the following Sunday, and then the audio from the live stream we then take and upload to all the podcast sites, to like Spotify and all those places on Sunday. So it drops noon Sunday, wherever you listen to podcasts. And I decided on noon because after people get at church, they need to like cleanse their mind and listen to something that's really fun. And so I figured noon was the best. And so they can, and then we cover the week from there. So it's always movies that released that week in horror history. I was able to, I built up the horror movie database, which is this giant database on my computer of every single horror film that's ever been released on the dates they released throughout. So I just go through that, pull 4. Those are the ones we watch, and then we carry on from there. We've watched some real stinkers and some really awesome ones, but we cover everything all around the world. So
food of the gods.
Because I didn't want to do a review show, because review shows are a dime a dozen. It's like, let's talk about the movie. It's like, hell no. I'm a filmmaker. My friends are filmmakers. Let's deep dive this shit and talk about stuff that people don't know. Talk about like the influences, what was going on in the world. how geopolitics and national identity plays into the 1958 version of the Blob or the 1988 version of the Blob, and how it's the same story, but it's completely different because identities changed since then. Diving into stuff like that. That's what I wanted to go. And it's
and the 58 version is superior, of course.
Speaking of
the
which,
freaking intro music is just the best.
Speaking of which,
how did Henry Kissinger ruin the film?
wait, because this is actually relevant. When in 1970, when I was in high school, a friend of mine and I were having a conversation, and he said to me, Thomas Schelling was over at our house. Because at the time, Thomas Schelling was a professor at Harvard. Thomas Schelling, if you don't know, was a very influential guy who, in nuclear strategy, and if you Google the guy, you'll find out that a paper he wrote was the foundation of Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah.
Very, this guy is like a guy, and my friend says Thomas Schelling was over at our house, and I was sitting at the dinner table, and he was talking to my dad, and he said, I just got back from Washington because I told Henry Kissinger that I'm done. I'm absolutely done. This guy was a Rand Corporation dude, Nobel Prize in economics, and he said I told Kissinger. He was also partially responsible for the fucking hotline to Moscow. This guy's not a lightweight, and it's like this is 1970, and it's like Schelling and a bunch of Harvard professors go to the White House, go and talk to Kissinger and say, this Cambodia shit, we're done. We are done. Well, I don't want any. He refused from that point on to take any government posts. And the tragedy of that is that fucking Henry Kissinger maintained from 1970 until the day he died, aka yesterday, maintained an influence that Thomas Schelling, who died in 2016 at the age of 96, never had from that day forward. What did we miss? We missed a lot. We missed a fuck ton. What we got was Dr. Strangelove. And the title character was an absolute fucking parody of Henry Kissinger.
True enough.
Well, maybe that should be the next watch party, I guess, right?
Woohoo! Ride 'em, cowboy!
Yeah.
Oh, I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb.
You ever need one of those guys that talks about how the economics of a country affects its religiosity? I'm game.
Excellent.
Well, his Nobel Prize was in economics, and it was about game theory as applied to world politics. It's a fascinating individual. His stuff is brilliant. I actually was assigned some of his work when I was in college.
Are we tangenting here?
Maybe.
Yeah.
45-minute warning.
Neil's setting up smoke signals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right, before we go, I do.
Somebody brought up Kissinger, and it's like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's topical. But Jail, I wanted to ask, when people get tattoos on their arms, it often has great meaning. Like mine is take what you can. It's not just a Pirates of the Caribbean reference. I'm also a photographer, and I've also done a whole lot of suffering in my life. So take what you can has many, many meanings. It looks like yours is OON script.
Yes.
So that's like an extra level going on there.
There's actually
what it says.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually, because I'm always of the mind that tattoos should have a story that go behind them, and all my stories are like super involved, like with all my ink. So it's two sides. So it's on both arms because it's two passages. And okay, how to bring this in? There's actually a lot that goes into it. For some lines and dashes, it's really, really interesting. So As an atheist, I learned very early on in my activism and in the debates that I do that it's very, very important to measure myself. And when basically going after people. And when I started out and when I was fresh in this, I had a really bad habit of hammering people until they just broke, or like essentially trying to break them. And I wasn't making inroads. I was either embarrassing people or I was giving a person to a reason to dig further into their faith. I was not doing what I should have been doing. And I recognize that I can make these arguments and I can do this stuff, and I could very easily in a debate, I have the power to take someone's faith from them, to destroy it, to annihilate it, to shatter it. I've done it before, and left the person in pieces with there you go. That's not a win for me. And I recognize that that's not what we should be doing. So that was the kind of mentality that went into this. So what is tattooed in Ohm script on my arms is a phrase that is 2 parts. And it comes from, even though this is from my father's heritage, which is Irish, and that's where I get the ancient Irish language. And so I took the phrase that appears from the Arthurian cycle on Excalibur, which is "Take me up and throw me away." Take me up and throw me away. The phrase on that sword that's embedded on Excalibur is to remind the purpose of that story is to remind Arthur that even though you are king and you do have power, you need to remember when to wield your power and when not to wield your power. To take up that and be responsible, but realize you don't need it all the time. So be temperate in your approach, in your rule. Don't just wield power just because you have it. So I recognize that. I converted the phrase on Excalibur into an actual passage that can be translated into Ogham. So I converted that because there are certain letters that exist in English that don't exist in Ogham. Mm-hmm. So I then converted that phrase and I put that right here as a reminder to myself, just like, look, you have the ability to do this, but you don't need to do it. The goal should be intellectual honesty and recognizing that, yes, you can hold on to your faith, and that may do good things for you, like maybe some psychological or emotional utility or whatever, but be intellectually honest when you approach other people. And so to keep the conversation centered right there. I don't need to run around with my atheist hammer and smash everybody's dreams and be like, oh, I win. That shouldn't be the goal. That's not the goal.
Why not?
I totally see you doing it though.
I know that it's fun. Like I'll do it like brother. It's like right there with Brother Sid. It's like if I just go like Tag is friggin' desperate. Tag is desperate, but I could go into that. But that should be the purpose of that conversation. And this is just to remind myself constantly is like, temper yourself. Bring it back. There's no need to create more societal division when the objective should be to bridge these divides. My channel. To bridge these divides.
Roll credits.
And exactly.
Oh wait, we're on the wrong channel.
And so that should be the goal. So it's a self-reminder. It's a leash for myself.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you're seeking to make change for the future of the world, you need to do some persuasion. And however
bribery
whether it is through working through the texts of your interlocutor to see a way forward to a better world, or if you have to do that, because the idea is to build a better world,
right?
And to show your interlocutor that you have common ground. Because if it's a question of a war, then it's a war. Nobody wins. You fight a war, nobody wins.
Somebody wins.
Precisely it. I was like, I just, I realized that I needed to put a leash on myself and conduct myself in a way. Now, I will admit, there are some individuals out there, Dr. Witnesser, who make it really, really hard to do that. Because I've had some people on my channel, I brought some people on for conversations, and literally they take that, they want that opportunity so they can try to turn my platform into their platform to preach. So there's some people that do go out of their way to make it really, really hard. And but ultimately, that's why I love the stage. That's why I love the Discord stages, being on there and having those conversations. And it aggravates the shit out of me. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna fucking say it. T-Jump goddamn ruined that. And I'm just gonna say that flat out. I mean, T-Jump, he's great. He does his thing, but I personally think he ruined it. But I hope to do that again one day, is to have that consistent panel that does that. Because I love having these conversations with people and getting down into the dirt. Like, why do you believe these things? What were these inspirations? Like, how do we connect these dots? Connect these dots for me, and then maybe I have more information. Maybe they have some information. And then we can bridge that gap and be like, I see how we got there. Okay, so let's incorporate the new information, and possibly our worldviews will change. That's how it should go. But I think Neil was bringing up earlier, this kind of like mentality of the internet that we have today, or like social media that we have today, where it's like instantaneous. It's got to be there. Everybody wants to be in their echo chamber. Nobody wants to be challenged. Everyone wants to be validated. You got to kind of fight that tide, and it sucks sometimes.
What do you do with those beliefs? It's why do you believe these things? But what do you do with those beliefs? Where do you carry them into real life? I think that's of critical importance. I believe this, and this, and this. Well, I believe there's a teapot floating around Jupiter or whatever. But but what do you do with that? What does that lead you to do in your day-to-day life? Does it lead you to do better things or worse things to the people around you? Right. I don't see it's a whole ton of fun to argue about ontology. I was making fun of it earlier about ontology, about epistemology. It's a whole ton of fun to do that, but it's like it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it matters to establish, are we talking about the same things? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if your extremely sound epistemology leads you to do horrific things.
Right. Irrational beliefs tend to lead to irrational behaviors, and it's one thing we have to like. It's just we talked about it on the previous show. We talked about how we have members of Congress in this country that are refusing to pass legislation on things like climate change because they firmly believe that Christ is coming back in their lifetimes. That's the reason they're holdouts, is because we don't have to worry about climate change because Christ is going to come back. It's like, okay,
and solve everything for us,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't
have
to
pretend
bullshit.
They pretend to know what their invisible friend wants.
So you're not going to do anything. So that's what your beliefs lead you to do, and that's the thing that really matters.
It was the thing. How many like Jon Stewart fans we have here?
I'm trying.
Everybody. Jon Stewart fan.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So there was an episode of The Daily Show where it was this one kind of like got me because it was when that I can't remember his name. It's climate scientist dude is like talking to like the panel, and the congressman who's up there, I can't remember his name, but he says, "But why do we have to worry about the melting ice caps? Because when the ice in my water glass melts, my glass doesn't overflow." And the scientist I thought he had a stroke at first because he's like,
fair.
He was like, I always enjoy coming in. His response was just totally, I always enjoy coming up here and talking with you about this. And I'm like, and it's just like, that's the kind of insanity that is like in charge of something. It's like that, that has to be combated in some way. And going back to that responsibility is on us because we are responsible for both our actions and our inactions in this world.
Great, guys. I got to wrap it up, you guys. I get up at 4 in the fucking morning to go to work. So
I have an 8-month-old.
Yeah.
I have no life.
4 kids.
I have no life whatsoever. I write. So literally, I'm here at the office right now.
Hell yeah.
Well, Jill, dude, it was great having you on. It was great having you on the show tonight.
Little Chinese in there. You know what it says? It actually says leave studio.
Nice. Well played.
Yep.
Leave him
Who else but McKinnon?
before we dip, Neil, so Amber, I'm really curious. Like, do you have like any like links about like who was talking about that Alan Richardson video I released? Like, where that might be? Because I'd love to hear what people are saying about it. I can't find anything on YouTube, so I was just kind of curious.
Gotcha. Like I said, I think it came up in the chat on Punk Apostate. The way Brentley does his every other day he does a live stream, and then the opposite day is a prepared video, and he'll like go through apologetics videos and respond, and it's partly comedy, partly logic, like this makes no sense because, but then also jokes. But then he'll also read stuff from the live chat, and yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. I'd love to hear like people's thoughts on it. Like maybe if I screwed up somewhere, or I could have articulated something better. I'd love to hear people's feedback on that. So I'm always trying to improve.
Say goodnight, Neil.
Yeah, for sure.
Say goodnight, Neil.
Poor Neil. We always keep you up so late.
I'm sorry.
If you want to keep talking, just stay in the channel. We can talk after the show's over.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Neil.
absolutely.
I'm sorry, Neil. I forgot you were there. You may go now.
All you gotta do is mute us. Just mute us all.
Wait a minute, brother. Wait a second.
Just give us 30 seconds to play the stuff, and then
yeah, but don't hang up.
You can talk after that. So.
Yeah, just don't hang up. Don't hang up.
Just don't hang up.
Sounds like he's gonna fall over.
Because I got another 70 years to go.
The heat kicked on, so I got like a little warm and toasty in here, and I'm like, it is wow, 10:30. Neil's right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, no,
over there on YouTube and on Twitch. Thanks to all you amazing patrons and members. There's a lot of new guys. You guys are awesome. We love you so much. We love you. And like the late great Carl Sagan once said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
It's true.
Neil,
right.
You hit the button because I got to.
And sufficient evidence will convince you.
Later, y'all. Right. Happy birthday, Stephanie. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Stephanie.
Happy birthday, Stephanie.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
Thank
you for joining earlier. I appreciate you all. Love you.
I'm glad you came alive, Stephanie.
Oh, yeah.
Peace.
All right. See you guys.
Full love, Crunch.